She took the job because it was supposed to be simple. Cook meals. Keep the kitchen clean. Don't ask questions. That was what the woman on the phone had said, her voice brisk and distant, as if she were already moving on to the next task while speaking. 3 months on a cattle ranch in eastern Montana. Room and board included. Pay just enough to start over somewhere else when it was done. Starting over was all Mara Quinn wanted. She arrived before dawn, the sky still bruised purple and blue, her old sedan rattling over gravel as the ranch gates opened wide like a mouth swallowing her whole. The air smelled of sage and cold earth. Wind slid across the plains, tugging at her jacket as if testing her resolve. The main house sat low and sturdy against the horizon, weathered wood and wide porches built for watching storms roll in. Beyond it, corrals stretched out, dark shapes of cattle shifting and snorting. Somewhere in the distance, a horse whinnied. Mara turned off the engine and sat for a moment, hands tight on the steering wheel. Her heart thudded with the familiar mix of fear and relief. No one here knew her. No one here knew what she'd left behind. She grabbed her duffel, locked the car, and walked toward the house. Inside, the kitchen was bigger than any she'd worked in before. A long wooden table scarred with knife marks. Cast iron pans hanging from hooks. A massive stove that radiated residual warmth even though it hadn't been lit yet. The place smelled faintly of coffee, grease, and something earthy she couldn't name. "You must be the new cook." Mara turned. A man leaned against the doorframe, mid-30s maybe, tall, lean, with a sun-browned face and eyes the color of wet bark. He wore jeans, boots, and a faded shirt with the sleeves rolled up. A cowboy, plain and simple. "That's me," she said. "Mara." "Eli," he replied. "Breakfast is at 6. The guys'll start drifting in soon." "Guys." "Hands." "About a dozen. More during roundup." He smiled briefly, then stepped aside. "Kitchen's yours. I'll let you get settled." As he left, Mara noticed the way he moved. Quiet. Observant. Like he took in more than he let on. The first morning was chaos. Cowboys came in smelling of sweat and horses, boots thudding against the floor, voices loud and overlapping. They teased her gently, grateful for hot food, and she found her rhythm quickly. Eggs cracked. Bacon sizzled. Coffee poured endlessly. Eli sat with them, eating without comment, listening more than talking. When he laughed, it was soft, almost surprised, like it didn't happen often. Over the weeks, the ranch became its own world. Days marked by meals and sunsets, by the lowing of cattle and the endless wind. Mara rose before dawn, cooked until her arms ached, then cleaned until the kitchen gleamed. In the afternoons, when there was time, she walked the fence line or sat on the porch, letting the quiet soak into her bones. She hadn't realized how tired she was until she stopped running. At night, alone in the small room off the kitchen, memories crept in. The city apartment with its thin walls. The shouting. The slammed doors. The night she'd finally grabbed her bag and left while he slept, heart pounding so hard she thought it might wake him. She carried the echo of that life like a bruise. Tender. Invisible. Slow to fade. Eli began lingering in the kitchen after meals, helping her wash dishes or dry them, asking about her day. He never pried. Never asked where she came from or why she'd taken the job. He just listened when she spoke, nodded when she fell quiet. One evening, after supper, a storm rolled in fast and fierce. Rain hammered the roof, thunder cracking so loud the windows rattled. The power flickered, then went out entirely. The kitchen fell into darkness except for the pale glow of lightning through the windows. "Looks like we're stuck," Eli said, lighting a lantern. Mara laughed softly, a sound that surprised her. "Guess so." They sat at the table, lantern between them, the storm raging outside. Shadows danced across his face, deepening the lines around his eyes. "You ever think about staying?" he asked suddenly. "Staying? Here? Or someplace like this?" She considered the question. "I didn't plan that far ahead." He nodded, as if that answered something for him. As weeks turned into months, something in Mara loosened. She found herself humming while she cooked, smiling without thinking. Her sleep grew deeper. The constant knot of fear in her chest slowly unraveled. She and Eli grew closer in small, quiet ways. Shared jokes. Long looks. Once, during a particularly busy morning, their hands brushed as they reached for the same pan, and the jolt that shot through her left her breathless. She pulled away, heart racing, startled by how much she felt. One afternoon, she wandered farther than usual, following a creek that cut through the property. The land seemed endless, rolling hills fading into the horizon. It struck her how vast it all was, how small her old life seemed by comparison. She found Eli there, sitting on a rock, hat tipped low over his eyes. "Didn't mean to intrude," she said. "You didn't," he replied. "I come out here to think." She sat beside him, the sound of water filling the silence. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Sure. What made you come here?" He hesitated. For the first time, she saw uncertainty flicker across his face. "Family," he said finally. "Responsibility." She nodded, understanding more than he knew. It was near the end of her contract when everything changed. A black SUV rolled up the drive one morning, out of place among the dust and pickups. A man in a suit stepped out, clipboard in hand, followed by a woman speaking briskly into a phone. They asked for Eli. Mara watched from the kitchen doorway as he approached them, posture straight, expression guarded. Voices carried across the yard. Words like acreage and lease agreements and expansion plans. Her stomach tightened. When Eli came back inside, his face was closed off, walls firmly in place. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Yeah," he said too quickly. "Just business." But things were different after that. He was distracted, distant. Gone more often. When he was around, he seemed weighed down by something heavy and unspoken. The night before her last day, Mara packed her bag with a hollow ache in her chest. She hadn't realized how much this place, these people, had come to mean to her. She found Eli in the barn, brushing down a horse. "I'm leaving tomorrow," she said, though he already knew. He nodded. "I know." Silence stretched between them, thick and painful. "I wish you'd stay," he said quietly. "So do I," she admitted, tears burning her eyes. "But I don't belong here." He looked at her then, really looked, and something broke open in his gaze. "You belong wherever you choose to stand," he said. "Including here." She shook her head. "I can't build a life on maybes." He took a step toward her, then stopped, fists clenched at his sides. "There's something I should have told you," he said. "From the beginning." Her heart pounded. "What?" "This ranch," he said, voice steady but low. "It's mine." The words hit her like a physical blow. "Yours," she echoed. "My family's," he corrected. "I run it. Always have." She stared at him, betrayal and confusion swirling together. "So all this time," she said, voice shaking, "you were pretending." "No," he said fiercely. "I was working. Same as everyone else. I didn't tell you because I wanted you to see me, not what I owned." She laughed bitterly. "That should have been my choice." "You're right," he said. "And I'm sorry." Tears spilled down her cheeks, anger and grief tangled together. Old wounds reopened, the fear of being deceived cutting deep. "I can't do this," she whispered. "I can't trust someone who hides things like that." He nodded, pain etched into every line of his face. "I understand." She left before dawn, the ranch disappearing in her rearview mirror as the sun rose behind it. The road stretched ahead, empty and uncertain. Weeks passed. Then months. Mara found work in a small-town diner, saving money, rebuilding piece by piece. But something in her remained restless, unfinished. One evening, as she closed up the diner, a familiar figure stood across the street. Eli. Her breath caught. "I didn't come to pressure you," he said when she approached. "I just wanted to tell you, I'm putting the ranch in a trust. Opening it up. Making it something more than just mine." She studied him, searching for any sign of manipulation, finding only sincerity. "I learned something from you," he continued. "About honesty. About choosing where you stand." Silence hung between them, charged and fragile. "I don't know what happens next," she said. "That's okay," he replied. "Neither do I." She took a step closer, then another, the weight of her past finally lifting enough to allow hope in. For the first time in a long while, Mara felt like the ground beneath her feet was solid. And this time, she chose to stand.